This is the brand new Hasselblad X2D Mark II.
I was born to kill it, I was meant to win. I am down on willing, so I will find a way. It took a minute, I didn't have to ride away. When they get hot in the kitchen, you decide to stay.
In this video, we'll take a look at the newest medium format camera from Hasselblad, including the updated autofocus system and end-to-end HDR functionality. But it doesn't stop there, because there's also a brand new lens, an XCD 35-100 that you won't want to miss. For the last month, I've been testing the brand new X2D Mark II. And as many of you know, I have a working relationship with Hasselblad, which means I was able to get access to this camera early in exchange for making this video. So yes, I do get to keep this camera, but no, Hasselblad is not paying me. So with that in mind, that means this video is gonna be more of a first impressions overview, spec, demo with some real world shooting. This is not a long-term review. Maybe in the future we'll do one of those, but there are a lot of exciting things with this camera that I wanna talk about, starting with the redesign. Now, immediately you'll notice that the form factor is the same as the original X2D, but the color is updated. So it is this graphite gray matte finished with blacked out lettering. So the old X2D had like some white paint in all of like the logos and everything. This is just like etched in to this aluminum body. I think it looks really slick. In some of the videos, it does look a little bit more gray, but when you're holding it in person, it does, like I would describe it as black. It is almost like this Batman style dark gray matte. It's like an incognito camera, you know, because you don't even know what it is until you come up close and see that, oh yeah, it is actually a Hasselblad. The grip texture has been updated. The front button can now click in, and so there's various functions that will do. The rear of the camera body has two new buttons. So there's this multi-directional joystick, which actually is probably the most practical upgrade to this camera, and then a button right below that you can assign different custom functions to. The rear touchscreen on the X2D Mark II looks really good. It actually now folds out completely flat and pulls away from the body, which makes it easier if you're doing top-down shooting. It is an OLED screen with HDR functionality, and the max peak brightness is 1400 nits, which actually is better than my top-of-the-line professional color grading monitor. So the screen on this looks really good. I got him on lock. 3 frames per second. It's gonna take a couple tries to nail it. Did I nail it? Is that the first try?
That's the best one you've done so far. Even with our shoot.
We're going home. That's it. That's done. So, Will, how do I look this morning? Do I have enough stuff on my head?
I think you can fit a few more things on there. Actually.
I can actually show them what you look like, because we've got the Meta's rolling POV. We're gonna be testing the continuous autofocus and the single shot autofocus, vehicle autofocus, and people autofocus, because we've got Brian driving the Corvette around the block. We're gonna try some like slow shutter photos, so we'll see how it works. Fingers crossed. We have a lot of tech going on this morning. I will say it is finding cars, like even the cars that are way down there, you can see like it's got it, and if I keep my shutter half pressed, that's pretty impressive. Let's see that one. Yeah, see right there, it's got a whole box over the whole car, and it won't get interrupted by like that person. Look at that. And then this one, no problem. Brian, I'd say go one car length up. Just wait for these cars to pass. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm half pressing the shutter. I'm in continuous and vehicle autofocus. So if I let go, you know, it still finds it as I hover over. And then once I want to acquire my subject, half press, boom. So it's actually working really well. And you know, a lot of you probably have a question, how is the LIDAR playing into the autofocus? So where a normal camera has either contrast or phase detect, this adds another layer, which is the LIDAR. And we'll get more into it later in the video, but it is playing like a helping, like assisting role in situations where the image might be a little bit too dark. So in this case, we've got lots of light and the car is contrasting. So there's no way to like
turn it on or turn it off. But again, we'll talk more about that later. Also, check this out. The screen goes perfectly flat and moves away from the body. I probably mentioned that at the beginning of the video, and I probably should be using it in a situation like this. Oh my gosh. Okay, we've got enough bangers here. Let's do the around the corner shot. Yep, go for it, rip it. Now we're gonna shoot with people. So we've got Brian sitting in the front seat of the car, Will on the BTS, Anthony on the Hasselblad. So for these photos, I had Brian kind of stylized in a color scheme that would match the car. So a lot of his jewelry is like this bluish turquoise. And even the jacket he's wearing, this denim jacket, has a little bit of blue. All with the idea of not trying to take away from the car, because if we did something that was like bright yellow, although it's like contrast and complementary, because the surrounding environment is so like neutral and monochromatic, I kind of wanted to keep it within that downtown vibe, like highlight the color of the car. You know, when you're shooting for car companies, that's really important, this like riptide metallic blue. So everything within that color palette is the idea of what we're going for today. And oh my gosh, this car is so hot. Yeah, and one hand on the wheel. Perfect. Don't die today, Anthony. Don't die, don't die, don't die. By far the biggest change to the X2D Mark II is the inclusion of all the new autofocus functionality. Now, that's not to say that the original X2D is not useful, but I think there is going to be a difference in users that choose either of these cameras. If you're someone who's a little bit more of a slower paced shooter, maybe you shoot landscapes or static subjects, the X2D is still a great option. But if you're in a more demanding scenario where your subject is constantly moving and you have a need for medium format, the Mark II is probably going to be the one that you want to go with. You get expanded spot, wide, and custom zones, so you can actually set that size of the box. You don't have to use like a small autofocus box. You can just tell it, you know, look throughout the entire sensor. You get phase detect, contrast detect, and LIDAR. And the way this was explained to me, and I have yet to like really fully test this because I don't know if there's a way where you actually can test the LIDAR, but basically the LIDAR, the little LIDAR module, which is up here, operates in scenarios where the other autofocus methods might fail. So if it's too dark, or there's not enough texture on the subject that you're shooting, the way the LIDAR works is it's actually detecting depth. Now, a lot of you are probably gonna make that analogy to the DJI cameras. I asked them about it and they said there's no connection to what DJI is doing. So DJI functionality is its own thing. This is a different implementation of LIDAR that I actually think is very interesting because it opens up the opportunity to autofocus in scenarios where maybe you're shooting in a dark scenario where there is no light and you're doing some crazy long exposure that's like a minute long or something. Well, normal autofocus methods would fail, but because you have LIDAR, you don't need any light, so you'd be able to autofocus in those types of scenarios. And you can actually see in some of the B-roll samples, the little LIDAR module emitting light. You can't see it with your eye and it doesn't get captured by the camera, but because sensors work differently than the human eye, you can actually see it in some of the video footage. Oh my gosh, the sailboats still look amazing. HDR test, HDR test. Well, I guess we're testing the waterproofness. We just got an insane blast of rain. I'm actually here on Toronto Island. I don't know if you can see it because it's a little bit bright. Let me bring it back. Here, you can see Toronto over there, but I'm actually here with Chris. Chris is pumping up the paddleboard in the background, and the Hasselblad X2D Mark II is a little bit wet, so I guess this is also like the first water test of the camera. I don't know. Why not? It looks great though. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a rainbow.
Oh yeah, I think we're gonna get crazy light.
So Chris also has the X2D Mark II, but I'm gonna give him mine. Hit play, and I want you to see the effects of the HDR on the screen.
I do want to mention before pressing play that I invited Anthony to the beach and now there's just sand in between all the crevices of the buttons. I'm so sorry, Hasselblad and you.
I don't know if you can see it, but
Oh, I can see it.
We got
it's in the viewfinder.
We got sand. I don't know. It was the rain. Did the rain like hit the sand and the sand jumped up, or did I just put my camera on the ground? I don't know.
It always hurts so much, the first sand.
It does, because I still need to do some product B-roll. So if you see the shots at the beginning and the camera looks clean, and then you see the ones midway through the video, and it's like, why is there sand on the camera? This is why.
I haven't seen this. So I have the camera. I have not received a lens yet, so I can't shoot anything.
That's why I'm here. I brought all the lenses.
The beauty of the unboxing of it, which was amazing. It's like a 9/11 of the camera world, but I'm gonna press play. Enough said.
Okay, so what do you notice immediately?
It's such a balanced image. That's like, when I first look at it, I'm going like, the contrast, the micro contrast looks incredible. The highlights, like, because this is like direct sunlight at like, 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And then you have like really like dark areas, and it's balanced throughout. Like, this is just like a beautiful, pleasing image to the eye.
Also, if you see us going like this, we're literally getting bit by whatever has decided to come out after the rain. The big difference here, see how there's like highlights and then shadows, and it almost feels like you're getting it all. Mind you, I may have underexposed that shot, but I'll throw some of the photos up on screen now, because we had Charlotte literally doing her thing with the paddleboard.
Oh yeah, these are amazing.
And they look so vivid. I've used other medium format cameras before, and the thing you notice is that medium format image quality, but this really takes it like to the next step, where you can see all of the dynamic range from the highlights of the sun to the shadows of the buildings or the people or of the boats.
Yeah, because you have a person here who is technically backlit with a little bit of bounce coming from like the natural world, but like she's still popping. You still got that depth of field, and the background is exposed.
There's no real way for me to explain the HDR through a YouTube video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna post some of the samples over on Threads and hopefully Instagram, because they support HDR functionality.
There we go.
So stay tuned for that.
So I am still very new to the world of HDR and HDR screens and HDR workflows, to the point where I'm still trying to understand it myself, but I'm gonna explain it to you in a way that helped me understand. And I think that's part of the reason why this camera exists, because a lot of us don't understand how to properly deal with HDR yet. But this camera is the first medium format camera to offer that end-to-end functionality, which means it captures the 16-bit RAW files, it processes them into either a JPEG or an HEIF file, and then displays them on a screen that's HDR. And then you have a photo that you can take and is immediately ready to post to any of these platforms that support HDR images, like Instagram or Threads. And when I talk about HDR, I'm not talking about exposure bracketing, which is the method where you would take 3 separate images or 5 images and combine them and then tone map them for a standard dynamic range display. This camera is still just taking a single raw image. That raw image is unaffected, so you can take that, edit it separately, but if you have JPEG or HEIF files turned on, and you have HDR toggled, and you're in one of the auto modes, so aperture priority, shutter priority, or just full auto, it will create that HDR image for you. So the raw file is still there if you want to do all the post-processing yourself. A lot of screens now support HDR functionality. Your mobile device probably has HDR functionality. A lot of Apple products have HDR functionality. Hasselblad's own Focus editing app has all that functionality built in. So if for whatever reason you want to create the HDR image later, you can. Lightroom also has an HDR workflow. And so we're kind of headed in a direction where even if we're not using it now, it is one of those tools that will be available to us moving forward.
He actually may just drive right across.
I was like, hey, if we like miss the last ferry, we're just gonna
water taxis. We're good.
We're gonna be okay.
Oh, I'm glad you made it back.
There's rough seas out there, sir.
We weren't sure if you were just gonna go all the way across and leave us for the ferry.
I was trying to save 13 bucks.
All right, so if people only watch to this point in the video, first impressions, high-level summary, give me one sentence on the X2D Mark II.
Craftsmanship. Oh my. The unboxing experience is so lovely. And this is a camera that when you take it out, it's not like this thing where you take it out quickly and you take it out of the bag. Like, it is such a delicate experience. It feels so nice. You can tell that there was care put into it. Even the software. It's simple, but like elegant.
It is. So the touch interface, I like to say that the unboxing is equivalent to unboxing an Apple product, where they put care into the product, but into the packaging, and it's an experience from end to end.
I love it. Design nerd.
Back to the studio.
The display on the Hasselblad X2D Mark II is using the DCI P3 color gamut. It actually has a contrast ratio of 2,000,000:1 and a max peak brightness of 1400 nits. Now, for me, as much as all that HDR workflow might seem great and awesome, and maybe for you, you're like, well, what's even the point of all this HDR functionality? Well, the most useful feature, and I don't know if this is like the intended route of where HDR is headed, but normally if you are exposing your images, you can do it visually through the screen, or you can use something like a histogram that shows you, where are your shadows and where are your highlights sitting. But now, because the screen supports a wider color gamut and can show all of that color information, I'm kind of using it as an exposure tool so that when I take my photo, I can immediately look at it and go, oh, okay, I see. I captured all of that detail in the sky, or maybe the sun is a little bit too bright, or maybe I want more shadow details, and then make my adjustments from there visually, rather than relying on a graph where I'm not exactly sure where all the information is. The medium format sensor on the X2D Mark II is still that 100 megapixels. We are getting 16-bit RAW files and up to 15.3 stops of dynamic range. The base ISO has been lowered to 50, and we still have a 5-axis 10 stops of IBIS on this sensor, but we'll do a little bit of a test in some low light to see how that's performing in just a bit.
Okay, so we demoed the vehicle autofocus. We also have animal autofocus and people autofocus. And because I've got Brian in the car, let's try that and see how it performs. So this is what it looks like on the back of the screen, and you can see as I hover over him, and when it gets in proximity to that box, it does track his face. Now, if it's not in that box, it won't necessarily find him. So I can use the joystick to kind of move it into proximity. You can see even there through the sunglasses, it's found his eye. Now, if I recenter it and I have pressed my shutter, you can see it's giving me that green confirmation that yes, I have found Brian. Now I can also change it to continuous autofocus, and I can feel it, but you can't see it. I can feel that the motors are moving and continuously tracking him as I'm moving in and out. So with the X2D Mark II, we're getting a significant improvement because the Mark I didn't have continuous autofocus and didn't have all those little modes. I do find that it is very sticky. Like if it doesn't find a person, then it just won't focus on anything. Or if it doesn't find a car, it won't focus on anything. Or if I'm in human detection autofocus mode, it's not like it will suddenly grab the car, it will only look for humans. So let's shoot some more portraits. When we have clear traffic, I'll give you the go-ahead. We're gonna do this shot where you basically like exit the vehicle, walk across the street. The camera is hot. I think I just shot 100 photos of you. It was three photos a second continuous and I didn't stop. Look how good Brian looks though.
Along with the X2D Mark II, Hasselblad has also announced their latest lens, which you've probably seen me use throughout the video, and it's kind of been sitting back here. But this is the Hasselblad XCD 35
to 100. And it is a very interesting lens because when you do the math, it works out to roughly 28 to 75 on full frame. Now it is a variable aperture, which means at 35 millimeters, you're gonna get f2.8. And then when you zoom to 100, you're gonna get an f4 aperture. And you probably also noticed it is a telescoping design, but you are getting roughly 3 times optical zoom, which is impressive because now instead of having to carry, 3 different prime lenses with me, I can carry a single lens. And at first, you'll notice that it is big. When you put it side by side with some of the other X2D lenses, it is, I think, 90 millimeters around and 138 millimeters long. But it's not as heavy as I thought it was gonna be, which is nice because instead of having to bring 3 lenses and taking up a ton of space, I can bring one that's less space and less weight. The 35 to 100 has a 40 centimeter minimum focus distance at the wide end and a 50 centimeter minimum focus distance at the telephoto end. It has a 1/4000th max shutter, and that's because it is a leaf shutter that is inside the lens, and it has a front filter thread of 86 millimeters. And from what I've been told, it has the fastest autofocusing speed out of any of the lenses in the X2D lineup. So one of the things that I never really tested with the original X2D was the IBIS, or the in-body image stabilization. Now, because we are dealing with a medium format sensor, it's larger and heavier, meaning there's more to move around and to stabilize. So I wanted to see if I could do a 1 second handheld exposure, which is normally something that I would pull out my tripod for. And if you're just walking around for the day with your camera and your lens, and you really don't want to carry a bunch of extra stuff, I was pretty surprised that 1 second I was actually able to handhold. Now, 2 seconds, I did a few shots and some of them turned out really great, and I'm kind of getting a little bit creative here because I'm looking for motion, I'm looking for people, I'm looking for streetcars, things to either track or in this case, blur out. Now you can do something like a 1/3 of a second or a 1/2 of a second. That's pretty normal with most cameras, but if you wanna get really crazy, some of these I actually did at 4 seconds, which again, normally I would want to use a tripod for, so that I'm not introducing any just like handshake. It's okay if there's people moving and that's blurred out, or a streetcar moving, but ideally all that detail in the background that is that building and that background of Yonge and Dundas Square, I want to remain nice and sharp and in focus. But you tell me what you think down in the comments. Does this look good? Does it look sharp? We're dealing with 100 megapixels, so we have a lot of resolving power of that sensor, meaning we're getting a lot of detail. I also tried to recreate one of the shots that I did years ago where you can kind of stand in between 2 streetcars. I don't think I quite did it slow enough, and it's kind of one of those things that you're dealing with the chaos of the traffic lights and everything, so I kind of got to work fast. But 1 second, 2 second, and even 4 seconds IBIS on the Hasselblad X2D Mark II is pretty impressive. All right, the white balance here is messing me up. This is going to be a pain to color grade later, so let's head back to the studio. My first impression of this package, the X2D plus the lens, is that this feels like something substantial. It feels like I'm shooting on a different type of camera. And I've had some friends try it and they've seen me with it, and you look at it and you're like, what the heck are you shooting on? Hasselblad is making a statement with the X2D Mark II in the same way that they did with the original X2D, where they put internal storage and designed it in a way that maybe other camera brands weren't quite willing to do. With the addition of HDR and LIDAR technology, Hasselblad is taking medium format to the next level and really setting the standard of what we expect to see moving forward. But let me know what you found the most interesting about the X2D Mark II. Is there anything that this camera doesn't have that you wish it did? Or is there anything that you want to know more about? Let me know down in the comments, and until the next one, grab your camera, get out, and go shoot photos.